Regular meeting number 53 will come to order. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. President Pro Tem, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This evening, Council is pleased and appreciative to have Pastor Timothy Liggins here from Bethel AME to pray with Council. Pastor, welcome back.
Thank you, President Harden. President Harden, it's an honor to be here. Let us pray. Gracious God, our Heavenly Father, we come before your presence, acknowledging that you are sovereign Lord. In this season of Thanksgiving, we come thanking you that you are a God of grace, mercy, and love. We come thanking you for the love that you have for this great city of Columbus and for her citizens. Lord, we turn to you, O God, to lead us, for there is no one else to turn to. For you know the plans that you have for this city, plans for its good and not for evil. Lord, I thank you for these members of council to whom you have placed in position, as well as the hardworking council staff. I thank you for the love that they have for Linden, for the Hilltop, for the South Side, for Clintonville, and for each and every neighborhood. I thank you, Lord, for the desire and commitment that they have to make this a better community for all people. May they continue to have a heart after your heart, to act justly and love mercy. If they continue to be guided by you, O God, then we know that we will see that day when justice will roll down like a river and righteousness like an ever-flowing mighty stream. So bless the members of council, bless this meeting, O God. Grant them wisdom, grant them courage for the facing of this hour. And Lord, we are careful to give your name all the praise and all the glory. In Jesus' mighty and wonderful name we pray. Amen and amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson. President Harden. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of city council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson. President Harden.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This week's communications received by the City Clerk's Office are listed in the agenda and will be published in the bulletin. Are there anything else to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any resolutions or announcements by members of council, starting with President Pro Tem? Councilmember Mitch Brown? Councilmember Dorrance?
Thank you, Council President. No resolutions from me tonight, but I did want to introduce folks at Council tonight to the West Scioto Area Commissioner, Leila Cabus, who is shadowing me tonight, learn a little more about Council. She has served as a youth commissioner on the West Scioto Area Commission for the past 2.5 years, since she was 16 years old. We were joking earlier, I think she joined the commission and I joined council about the same time, so we're going to compare notes about those two experiences. She's currently studying psychology at Columbus State. Several of our area commissions have youth commissioner spots. and certainly something that I've been encouraging more area commissions to do. It's a great way to get young people interested in the work of our city and how vital our area commissions are to what council does every single week here. So thank you for being here. You want to say any words?
Oh, I'm good.
Oh, good. I do want to invite, we have several area commissioners from West Scioto here this evening to talk about Leila, I'm sorry, and their experience with having a youth commissioner sit on their commissions for the issues that she's been able to help them with. And commissioners, why don't you come on up? Commissioner Cabal, thanks for being here.
Council President Harden and council members, my name is Rita Cabral. I am a commissioner with the West Scioto Area Commission and preside in that area. Thank you for giving our student commissioner, Lila Cabas, the opportunity to be a participant in this meeting. Councilmember Doran, thank you for allowing Commissioner Cabas the opportunity to shadow you and your staff today. Commissioner Cabas has been an asset to our commission from day one of her 3-year term, participating in numerous Department of Neighborhood training programs each year and to better serve her on commission committees. Those committees include zoning, planning, communications, and during regular commission meetings. She has participated in person council community hours and meetings when they were being held, our neighborhood pride event and survey campaign for the Renner Road, Trabue Road, McKinley Avenue mobility study, and much more. She also extended her term from 2 to 3 years when the city asked all commissioners to comply with this term limit. During her term with us and attending Hilliard-Davidson High School, she has completed close to 2 years of college credits. The West Scioto Area Commission is very proud of our student commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cable. Appreciate you being here tonight, and thank you very much for being with us as well. And again, just want to encourage all of our 21 area commissions to, if they don't already have a youth commissioner on their commission, to consider adopting it. I had the opportunity to have coffee with another youth commissioner a couple weeks ago, and it is wonderful to think about the different issues that the area commissions help us with, but also to see it from a young person's lens, folks that are growing up in the city and want to see change in their community as well. So I appreciate you being here tonight. Hope you learn a little bit more about council, and thank you, commissioners, for your engagement with making sure that youth perspective is there on your area commission. So thanks for that. Mm-hmm. That is all I have tonight, Council President. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you, Commissioners. Councilmember Favor.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Just a few announcements this evening. I will be hosting 2 public hearings on Tuesday, December 7th at 5:30 p.m. The purpose of the first hearing is to evaluate the CRA policy. As a reminder, the Department of Development Housing Division is currently undergoing a review of our city's incentive policy. They have hosted 2 community conversations over the past month. This hearing will provide me with an opportunity to also engage with any interested members of the community that would like to provide their feedback or to weigh in on the proposed policy. The purpose of the second hearing is to discuss the West Broad Street CRA and the creation of that. For any additional information about these 2 hearings that will be held, once again on Tuesday, December 7th, please contact my legislative assistant, Anissa Lieben, at aaliban@columbus.gov. Later that week, I will also host an operating budget hearing for the Public Service and Transportation Committee, as well as the Housing and Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committees on Thursday, December 9th at 5 p.m. Once again, any resident interested in providing testimony or seeking additional information may contact my legislative assistant, Anissa Lieben, at aaliban@columbus.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. I have a public service announcement on behalf of the Salvation Army. They will be offering free Thanksgiving meals this Wednesday, November 24th, the day before Thanksgiving, at their Hilltop and East Main Street neighborhood locations. As we know, the Salvation Army of Central Ohio provides food, utility, and rental assistance and homeless prevention services, in addition to many other programs for families who need assistance at its Columbus neighborhood locations. This Wednesday, November 24th, the day before Thanksgiving, the Salvation Army will host a Thanksgiving meal drive-through at its Hilltop and East Main Street locations. A free Thanksgiving meal that includes turkey with all the fixings will be available for each person present. The Salvation Army has organized this year's Thanksgiving meal in a drive-through or walk-up fashion to help keep everyone safe during the holiday season. On Wednesday in the Hilltop, it'll be at 2300 West Mound from 11 to 12:30 or until the meals are gone. And at 966 East Main Street, it'll be 11:30 to 12:30 or until the meals are gone. They are also doing a Beat Hunger Giving Challenge during the, we're not supposed to say the M word, so it's like Michigan Week, in an effort to continue raising funds for Columbus families who may need assistance and beyond during the holiday. The Salvation Army of Central Ohio has partnered with Kroger to bring you the first ever Beat Hunger Giving Challenge between the Salvation Army of Central Ohio and the Salvation Army in Ann Arbor, Michigan. This opportunity to donate to support Central Ohio families in need will also help us hand Michigan their second loss on game day. The Beat Hunger Challenge will allow us to prove that Ohio State has the most philanthropic fans. The Salvation Army headquarters in either Columbus or Ann Arbor with the highest single kettle total will be declared the winner. So I encourage you to give to a red kettle at a Kroger location this Friday or Saturday. There will also be a $10,000 local match on the table by a generous donor. I am planning to drag my family out on either Friday or Saturday at one of the Krogers, so hopefully we'll see you out there. And finally, I just want to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you all on this dais, thankful for the residents of the city of Columbus, and certainly thankful to serve in this capacity. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Tyson.
Thank you, President Harden. I don't have any resolutions this evening, but I would like to ask Dr. Mashika Roberts to give us an update on some COVID-19 vaccine information, and then also a new initiative that will help keep families safe during the holiday season. Dr. Roberts?
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Good evening, council members. Just want to give you a brief update on how we're doing with COVID cases. Going into the Thanksgiving holiday, we had anticipated having our numbers be slightly lower than they are at this present time, but we are managing with what we are given, and we will work through that. We are fortunate now that everyone 5 years of age and older is now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. And we have been giving the COVID-19 vaccine to those who were 5 to 11, which is the newest group that became eligible for the last 2 weeks. Thus far, we've given close to 2,000 doses of the vaccine to that age group alone. We continue to offer the primary series, obviously second doses and boosters. And hot off the press last Friday, the CDC and the FDA approved boosters for everyone. So what that means is now everyone who received an mRNA vaccine, otherwise known as Moderna and Pfizer, no matter what your age, no matter where you work, and no matter your health conditions, you are eligible to get a booster 6 months after your second dose. And so we are providing those as well. And then anyone who got a Johnson & Johnson vaccine can get a booster 2 months after their Johnson & Johnson dose. So Columbus Public Health continues to offer those vaccines, primarily at Columbus Public Health, and we will be open every day this week with the exception of Thanksgiving. So those of you who are off this week or have children who are off, please feel free to come by, check out our hours this week. I will tell you that obviously vaccines are the way to get to the end of this pandemic. And I mentioned our numbers were going up. We still remain in very high transmission here in Franklin County, according to the CDC. Our case rate for COVID-19 is 218 per 100,000, which is actually a 20% increase from where we were last week. Our positivity rate is now up to 8.4%, which again is an increase from where we were last week. and we continue to see hospitalizations go up in our community. One bit of good news in all of this, as we work so hard to get individuals vaccinated, is for City of Columbus residents, our vaccination rate for those who completed the vaccine moved past 50%. And we're now at 50.2%. And I do believe our Vax for Cash program continues to work very, very well. And we plan to continue that, assuming we get enough funding, until the end of 2021. So with all that being said, we've got a lot of disease activity around. We know people are anxious to see their family and friends during the holidays, and we wanted to try to do everything we could to reduce the amount of virus transmission during the holidays. So we have started a campaign, Test Before You Gather. And to help individuals with that, we are distributing at-home test kits for free. So you can obviously come by the health department and get the test kits. They're also available at our rec centers here in the city of Columbus, as well as all libraries in Franklin County. But tomorrow we're having a big day where we're going to be distributing the test kits to anyone who comes by the Celeste Center. And I know our community is very familiar with Columbus Public Health being at the Celeste Center. So tomorrow between 11 and 6, Columbus Public Health will be at the Celeste Center distributing at-home test kits. Each car will be eligible for 12 test kits, and we strongly encourage individuals to test before they gather. So assuming you're gathering on Thanksgiving morning or Thanksgiving Day, we encourage you to get up that morning, and before you go to your activities, your friend's house, your family member's house, you test yourself in the privacy of your home. You get your results in the privacy of your home. If you test positive, we want you to stay at home and not spread that virus to others, your loved ones and your family that you're supposedly celebrating with. We want you to stay at home, and then there's a way we inform you how to report those results. We're really trying to prevent the spread, the unknowing spread of this virus. So if you wake up with a tickly throat, not feeling your best, we're providing you an easy way to get tested, again, right in the comfort of your home. So tomorrow between 11 and 6, please come by the Celeste Center. It's drive-through, so even though it's going to be chilly tomorrow, you get to stay in your car, and we will hand you the test kits with all the instructions for you to be able to do this at home. That's all I have. We just want everyone to have a really great holiday, a great Thanksgiving, and we want to do everything we can to reduce the number of cases that occur as a result of those Thanksgiving gatherings.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts, and just really excited about the Test Before Gathering program, and again, up to 12 kits so that you can certainly make sure family members or friends are tested before they come over. And I just want to commend the health department and for working with the Franklin County Health Department to be able to have these test kits for our families. Again, test before gathering. Thank you, Dr. Roberts. President Harden.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Commissioner Roberts, just a question about the booster. As we're trying to layer on our different protections pre-Thanksgiving, is there, how quick does the booster take effect in terms of adding protection against the virus? So if you get it before Thursday, before Thanksgiving, is that a help? Is that a benefit to going to dinner with your loved ones?
I'm so glad you asked that question, Council President Harden, because the new data says that it is a help. I think you all have probably heard it takes 2 weeks to get full protection after you get that vaccine. We're talking about the primary series. So if you got a J&J, 2 weeks after that, and if you got a Pfizer or Moderna 2 weeks after your second dose. New data is saying that when you get the booster shot, you actually get that boost almost immediately, that you don't have to wait those 2 weeks to get the full impact, the full boost, so to speak. So I encourage people who have not gotten their booster yet, that it's not too late to get that booster and to protect yourself before you start attending those holiday gatherings, and definitely before you travel. If you're going to be traveling, whether by car or by plane or by train, that you get that booster. Boosters are readily available in our community. All of our hospital systems are providing it. Columbus Public Health is providing the boosters, and then all of our retail pharmacies are providing the boosters as well.
You're welcome. Thank you, Dr. Roberts, and happy Thanksgiving. That's all I have.
Thank
President
you.
Harden.
Same to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, council members. Are there any requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance or resolution from consent portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may we now have a motion to waive the reading of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda?
So moved. Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance numbers of 30-day legislation for tonight?
Finance Committee ordinances 2759, 2800, 2974-2021. Public Safety Committee ordinance 2993-2021. Public Utilities Committee ordinances 2792, 2808, 2811, 2900, 2906, 2915-2021. Technology Committee ordinance 2898-2021. Public Service and Transportation Committee ordinance 2925-2021. Economic Development Committee, Ordinance 3051-2021.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Seeing no speakers on the first reading, the following ordinance appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk now read those into the record, please?
Resolutions of expression 236X, 237, 238, 233, 234, 235X-2021. Finance Committee ordinances 2787, 2866, 2880, 2902, 2936-2021. Recreation and Parks Committee ordinance 2606-2021. Public Safety Committee ordinances 2891, 2954-2021. Public Utilities Committee ordinances 2435, 2738, 2747, 2753, 2755, 2761, 2809, 2816, 2821, 2823, 2859, 2863, 2899, 2976, and 3032-2021. Technology Committee ordinances 2417 and 2890-2021. Public Service and Transportation Committee ordinances 2908, 2926, and 2978-2021. Housing Committee ordinances 2236, 2352, 3018, 3019, 3027-2021. Economic Development Committee ordinances 2657, 2766, 2767, 2768, 2769, 2918, 2923-2021. Health and Human Services Committee ordinances 2883-2021. And appointments from the Mayor's Office numbered A0, 208, 209, 210, 211, 212, 213, 214, and 216-2021.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We don't have any speakers on the consent portion. Are there any questions or comments from our colleagues? Seeing none, may I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Consent agenda carries. We will now proceed with the second reading of 30-day and tabled emergency legislation. The first committee is Finance, chaired by President Pro Tem. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Council President. The first three ordinances in Finance make up the 2022 operating budget that was proposed by Mayor Ginther last week. We will be tabling these ordinances tonight as Council commences with hearings in the coming weeks to review the budget and receive public feedback before final consideration early in the next year. So the schedule has been published in the City Journal and includes the following hearings, which will be here in council chambers unless otherwise noted, with hybrid technology as well. Wednesday, December 1st, I will chair a hearing of the Finance, Education, and Rec and Parks Committees. That's at 3:30. Thursday, December 2nd, also at 3:30, Councilmember Mitchell Brown will chair a hearing of the Public Safety Committee. Thursday, December 2nd at 5 p.m., Councilmember Dorans will chair a hearing of the Neighborhoods, Technology, and Public Utilities Committees. Tuesday, December 7th at 3:30, Councilmember Remy will chair a hearing of the Economic Development, Environment, and Administration Committees. Wednesday, December 8th at 3 o'clock, Councilmember Tyson will chair a hearing of the Health and Human Services Committee. Wednesday, December 8th at 4 o'clock, Councilmember Harden, President Harden will chair a hearing of the Small and Minority Business Development Committee. Thursday, December 9th, at 4:30, Councilmember Favor will chair a hearing of the Public Service and Transportation, Housing, and Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committees. If there are any other questions or comments, I'll pause, otherwise move into these titles. And remember, I will be tabling each of these as Council considers the budget. So first is Ordinance 2741-2021. to make appropriations for the 12 months ending December 31st, 2022 for each of the several object classes for which the City of Columbus has to provide from the monies known to be in the treasury of said City of Columbus, in the fund known as the General Fund during the said 12 months from the collection of all taxes and from other sources of revenue, the amount of $1,034 million and to declare an emergency. I request to table indefinitely pending public hearings.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Tabled.
Next is Ordinance 2742-2021 to make appropriations and transfers for the 12 months ending December 31st, 2022 for other funds for various divisions, to authorize the city auditor to make transfers as may be necessary and to declare an emergency. I request to table indefinitely pending public hearings.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Tabled.
And finally, Ordinance 2743-2021 to make appropriations for the 12 months ending December 31st, 2022 for selected other funds for various divisions, to authorize the city auditor to make transfers as may be necessary and to declare an emergency. I request to table indefinitely pending public hearings.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Tabled.
Thank you. Next in finance, we have Ordinance 2775-2021 to authorize and direct the city auditor to provide for the transfer of $19,038,000 within the general fund, to authorize the transfer of cash in the amount of $771,000 from the general fund to the property management fund, to transfer appropriations between objects in certain non-general fund departments and divisions, to authorize and direct the city auditor to appropriate additional funds in the Recreation and Parks Operating Fund, the Development Services Fund, and the Property Management Fund, and to declare an emergency. As part of the 2021 third quarter financial review, Finance and Management identified surpluses and deficits in various city divisions and is submitting this ordinance to properly align appropriations with projected expenditures. This adjustment allows city operations to continue without interruption through the end of the year. And this ordinance is being considered as emergency to keep the city's accounting system as updated and accurate as possible. Any questions? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have Ordinance 2794-2021 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to establish various purchase orders for fuel on behalf of the Fleet Management Division per the terms and conditions of previously established universal term contracts, to authorize the expenditure of $1,750,000 from the Fleet Management Operating Fund. The Fleet Management Division budgeted $8.4 million for fuel purchases in this year for the city's 6,000 vehicles. $2.5 million was allocated in January with an additional $1.4 in September. And this funding is needed for the ongoing fueling needs of the city's fleet until our operating budget is passed early next year. Seeing no questions, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Next is Ordinance 2887-2021 to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to enter into a contract on behalf of the Office of Construction Management with Train US Incorporated for the replacement of direct digital HVAC controls at the Division of Fleet, to authorize the city auditor to transfer funds between projects within the Fleet Management Capital Fund, to authorize the expenditure of $400,000 from Fleet Management Capital Fund, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Codes Chapter 329, and to declare an emergency. The existing HVAC control system at Fleet is beyond its useful life and simply in need of replacement. A waiver of competitive bidding is being considered, so this new system matches the existing Train HVAC controls and equipment, so this will ensure, optimum efficiency. Replacing obsolete HVAC systems helps save taxpayer dollars in the future thanks to reduced energy costs at facilities like this one, like Fleet. In addition to compatibility with the existing equipment, Train also has the required equipment in stock and is able to complete this work prior to winter. Feels like winter right now, so I'm sure staff at the division would appreciate that emergency action is being considered so that work can be completed sooner than later. If there are no questions, seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown. Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
That's all I have in finance, and I have one in education, if I may move to that.
Sure.
Thank you, Council President. I have Ordinance 2901-2021 to authorize and direct the Director of the Department of Education to enter into a nonprofit service contract with Action for Children for the purpose of engaging in a plan to recruit childcare teachers and staff, including providing new teacher signing bonuses and to provide affordability scholarships for working families. To authorize the expenditure of up to $3,910,003 from the Recovery Fund and to declare an emergency. Access to high-quality childcare is a matter of basic infrastructure. I feel like I say that in my sleep, but I'm saying it again. It supports our economy and invests in our future because it prepares our kids for success. The global pandemic put this critical industry into crisis. Women were driven from the workforce due to childcare needs, due to the lack of workplace flexibility, and the kind of caregiving demands that we haven't seen in a long time. These losses of women from the workforce also included the female-dominated childcare industry, where a little more than half of the workers are mothers. Childcare workers are also notoriously underpaid in our state, making less than $11 an hour. According to data provided by Action for Children, more than 1/3 of childcare providers do not have enough teachers, with Franklin County experiencing a deficit of nearly 1,000 childcare teachers and staff overall. So we're simply, as a system, unable to meet the need that our residents require and truly demand, that our economy requires and demands. So these investments here tonight will begin to help by providing signing bonuses of up to $1,000 to hire new teachers, a public relations campaign to recruit new teachers, and childcare affordability scholarships up to $10,000 for working families who don't make enough money to pay for high-quality care, but who make too much to qualify for traditional childcare subsidies. I will note that Ohio has some of the strictest requirements for childcare assistance in the country. This is an imperative for all of us to work to change. We need to encourage the state to lower the statewide eligibility requirement to help these families, actually increase the eligibility to help these families. These investments tonight will help to strengthen and sustain a high-quality, affordable, and equitable early learning landscape that all families can access. I'm excited to support them. And I will also note that one of the reasons this industry is in chaos is that before the pandemic, it was on the precipice. Childcare has never been an easy business for providers to run, and it has really never been affordable to parents. And so with a hit like the COVID-19 pandemic, it has been extremely challenging, near catastrophic for many of our providers to handle. And our families and our economy is paying the price. So I want to emphasize that while this $3.9 million is being spent for good for our economy, there is so much more work to do ahead. Are there any questions about this legislation before moving for passage? Councilmember.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Brown. So this is really to support the parents, to provide them with resources if they happen to be in the kind of Clift area. And then I guess the signing bonus to recruit childcare employees. And then the question I'll just ask is really around the salary ranges. Is this going to help at all with the salary range so that people are making more money to be able to take these jobs on?
Mm-hmm. Well, the signing bonus should help immediately with sort of a boost to that incoming salary. Often childcare providers are, because of the turnover in the workforce, and not because they're greedy, but because of what the system can overall afford, right? Families can't afford to pay $25,000 a year on childcare. And so providers have to make these tough decisions about starting salaries. And we're hoping that the $1,000 incentive helps to alleviate those struggles, keep the teacher around longer and allow the childcare provider to increase their wage and, help that retention and to really incentivize longevity. But you're hitting a critical point here. There is so much more work to do to make sure that our childcare providers don't just make $15 an hour, but really make parity with our public school educators.
Yeah, I would agree. So I appreciate this legislation and just know that and just for the viewing and listening audience, there is significant work that needs to happen in this area because, as we know, pre-K is so important and prior to pre-K. But and right now, unfortunately, what the pandemic has also demonstrated to us is that there aren't enough people for the jobs that, well, I should say, we're having a shortage of individuals in the workforce industry. I'll just use that word, workforce industry. And so it is creating a challenge, and especially around childcare. And one of the issues around childcare, as we just discussed, is just the hourly wage. And it's not that the providers don't want to pay. It's just, as you stated, the issue around the margins. And so this is an issue that has to continue to be worked on and made a priority for our children and our families. So thank you.
Thank you. The Treasury Secretary recently called the childcare industry a market failure. It is not something that can use market-based systems, right? A market-based structure. It is a market failure. And that's, with market failure, needs government help. So, with no further questions, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have.
Thank you for your advocacy there. I know you spend, both Councilmember Tyson and Councilmember Brown, President Pro Tem, spent so much time in this space, and we're a better city because of it. Thank you. The next committee to come before council is Public Safety, chaired by Councilmember Mitch Brown. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. This evening, I have Resolution 0374X 2018 to object to the renewal of liquor permit number 643-043-20005 held by 19 East 13 LLC, doing business at Midway on High, located at 1728 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43201, and to declare an emergency. My office has been working with City Attorney Klein and Assistant Attorney Steve Dunbar. This establishment was originally brought to the attention of council in 2018. Police Commander Dennis Jeffries is available to share information regarding the activities that have occurred at this establishment, and Attorney Dunbar will provide background information regarding the efforts the City Attorney's Office has taken to try to allow this establishment to come into compliance. Attorney Dunbar and Commander Jeffries, the floor is yours, sir.
Councilmember Brown, members of council. I run the office in the city attorney's office called the Zone Initiative. Most of you are familiar with. We have an attorney assigned to each police zone. Genuinely try and identify the areas of town, the pieces of property that are most problematic for folks who live and work in our city, and try to engage folks and work with folks to do something about that. And one corner of those responsibilities are our annual liquor objections. Mr. Sperlazza did that in our shop for some time. Ms. Pomeroy has done it of late. She is late getting back in town from a trip, so I'm pinch hitting tonight. As Councilmember Brown told you, we're here talking about the establishment known as Midway on High. This is big campus bar about High and 13th. The background of this is in 2018, this was on our liquor objection list, as we genuinely try to do each time. Sometimes we do better than others. We communicate with folks, try to work something out short of you're closed, you lose your liquor permit. And this was an example. In 2018, kind of an 11th hour, came to an agreement with them where they conceded they were a public nuisance. And they conceded to a significant amount of basically court oversight of their operations. That is pretty typical way we do business here. Gee, it looks rough, we're trying to get through it, but at some point we need to put some more structure, some teeth to how we are dealing with some places. So we did that in 2018. And I guess I would tell you, we are here just to boil it all down into a nutshell, that we probably failed the citizens of Columbus in 2018. We being me, I mean us, we came to you with this recommendation. The passage of time at this place in particular has given us a number of problems. And I would tell you, Commander Jeffrey is here. He's in charge of every uniformed officer, campus area, Clintonville, North, South, Linden. He's going to put much more kind of context to the numbers I'm getting ready to rattle off. But first and foremost, we are here because when we look at year-over-year numbers, the 2 years leading us up to coming before you all in 2018, just 70 raw calls for service to this establishment. 2 years leading up to today, 112 calls for service to this establishment. And I mean, this is just a lawyer saying numbers. Commander Jeffrey's going to talk about what that means real life for someone whose job it is to maintain the safety of folks who live, work, and just exist near our campus area. Of those, we have 9 crimes of violence, a couple underage alcohol sales. So that is just on its merit, in a nutshell, the activity at Midway on High that leads us to come back to you 2-3 years later and say, my goodness, it didn't work. A little more context to that is I will tell you, in addition to just the general criminal activity and the draw on resources being problematic as we sit here again today, they have repeatedly violated their agreement. They have, and when I say agreement, I mean we sit down and negotiate exactly what this looks like, but at the end of the day, we walk together to a judge and say, Judge, here's what we've agreed to. We've agreed. We want this to be an order that you can enforce. So it's an agreement that becomes a court order. They violated 4 times and counting since then. And that is everything from noise is an issue here. They've got a good amount of outdoor noise that runs late. We get a significant number, we meaning him, get a significant number of calls late at night from folks University area, Clintonville about that noise. One of the things we tried to do in that order to address it is say, okay, we get it. You're a campus bar. You're going to have noise. 11 o'clock, shut down all exterior amplified noise. Within a matter of months of us coming to that agreement, violation, violation, violation. We tried informally to work it out with them, didn't work. We filed a formal motion for contempt. They were held in contempt, paid a fine. Fast forward to 2020, they are, I mean, I can only think of one place citywide that was a worse COVID offender than this place. And I'm in a situation where, I mean, we were evaluating all these from public health. So again, and part of that agreed order is thou shalt comply with any and all local laws. Motion for contempt. Guys, you got to bring it in line. Oops, sorry. They agreed to basically reduced capacity even beyond or below what they had to have. A few weeks later, they're violating that provision again. Held in contempt, and they're ordered to be closed for a year. Or I'm sorry, for a week. And then what we have now this fall, all of a sudden we get the noise complaints left and right again, and we'd kind of gotten past that. And what the reports we are getting are, my goodness, they've got a full-blown outdoor stage concert going on. I mean, open, obvious violations. We call their attorney. We're trying to work through this thing. And I guess, Mr. Ames, if you would not mind, I think some context here, just seeing the physical setup of the 2 establishments they got helps there. But basically what happened is this is one piece of property, one parcel that's subject to this court order. No outdoor amplified music after 11 o'clock. There are 2 bars that operate on this one parcel. They're owned, operated by the exact same folks. And so what happens this football season, we have the common parking lot between these 2 buildings, full-blown outdoor stage, DJ, speakers, different flavors of the same thing on different weekends, blowing well past 11 o'clock at night. And so what we find as we're kind of catching up to what looks like just open, obvious violations is they had actually applied to the Department of Public Safety and gotten noise permits from the Department of Public Safety. Now, a noise permit does not trump a court order, but we think, okay, maybe there's some confusion. Let's talk to them and figure out what happened. Well, what happened was instead of applying under Midway's name, they applied under Ethel and Tank's name. again, to use the common area in the middle. On one of the applications, literally, the person wrote Midway, scratched it out, and wrote ethylene tank. And so what we did was called the attorney, and we huddled all this, like, okay, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt, maybe big misunderstanding. Some may think, okay, you threw one by us, but we're all on the same page. It's got to shut down at 11 o'clock. They could still have the big outdoor events. They could still have the music. We go to Clintonville, we go to University Area Commission, and they yell and scream at us for letting them do this stuff at all, but we came to what seemed like a reasonable middle ground. Shut it down at 11 o'clock, outdoor amplified music. Talk to the attorney, we're all on the same page. Commander Jeffrey will tell you he sent one of his people out early in that first night to say, hey, want to make sure we're all on the same page. They blew by that deadline every single night that weekend. We filed the formal motion for contempt, and with all these, I mean, it's just like we don't come to you the first time someone steps out of line. We come to you when, gee, it's not working. Same thing there. We tried talking, we tried working, just like 3 prior times, motion to contempt for violating the order they agreed to. That litigation is still out there. They have retained a new attorney. They've asked for a continuance. They have also violated the order 3 more times since we came to that agreement. Most recently, Saturday night. And so, again, I'm before you, one, just conceding. Ultimately, I mean, we have decisions, we come to you, but I run this group, I filed this up. You know, and unfortunately, a lot of folks who don't have the luxury of sitting in an office all day had to suffer because of that. We went out of our way. We tried to work with folks. It's always kind of a best estimate. Is it going to work with this group? Is it not? Do we have the right assurances in place? Failed miserably. Again, as recently as 2 days ago. So that being said, again, we have this culmination of factors where just on their merits, it's even worse looking back now than it was when we were here before you, or we're going to be here before you in 2018. And on top of that, everything we have tried. We think we're on the same page. We think we're doing well. Boom, they just go completely the other direction. And you do get to a point where it's hard to rationalize how these are honest misunderstandings, just when you see that pattern of behavior year over year over year. So that being said, that's why we are here today presenting this. And as I said before, Commander Jeffrey has to do this in real life while I am laying in bed at night. So I think it'd be good for him to give you all a little bit of his perspective on the conduct there and what it does for his ability to provide safety throughout that area. And then obviously either one of us will be here for any questions any of you may have. Thank you.
Council President Harden, members of council, thank you for having me to speak about this really important issue in the campus area. And I think we all understand, you know, campus University District has a lot of people living in a very small area. So in essence, it's already impacted by a large amount of people. What Midway does is it brings in a lot more people into a very condensed area. So 13th and High, it's a dead end. So that Midway is in a pretty much a closed area. So that becomes a very highly populated area. And what my biggest worry is the amount of people in that area. We've seen some tragic situations in this country this year when we have a large group of people together, something goes wrong, there's literally chaos, people are, you know, hurt, killed. So that's really my reason for standing here amongst you today, is I really want to avoid anyone getting injured or killed in this situation. As Mr. Dunbar said, you know, we can go through all the different calls for service, but these aren't just the noise. These are assaults, sexual assaults, stabbing, a shooting. So what that does, as you all know, that brings in a lot of police resources and fire resources. We're already, as you know, pretty thin, especially in the campus area on weekends. And then when you throw in an OSU football game, we're even more thin. So as these incidents happen, that just brings in other resources. We've had to call what we call a zone-wide 10-3 before there, where we bring every officer on the zone. And what that does, that takes officers from Linden, Clintonville. It's not fair to the other members, you know, in that zone, you know, taxpayers. So I really fear that, you know, if this establishment is allowed to continue in this manner, that we're going to have some serious safety issues. Traffic is another issue. The bar gets so crowded on High Street that people literally go into High Street to bypass the lines, and that's going to, eventually someone's going to get struck by a vehicle. Ethel and Tank, it borders Pearl Alley. The line sometimes extends across Pearl. Traffic up and down Pearl, once again, could be a serious traffic issue. And fire is in the same situation as police here. Whenever we get called, usually it's, sometimes an engine, sometimes a medic. So it's just a huge strain on resources. As Mr. Dunbar said, I've even gone there. I work every Saturday pretty much, and I've gone and I've asked the managers, and they pretty much say, well, this is what we've been told to do. So, we understand what you're asking us, but we're not willing to do that right now. And as he said, I think this is a campus bar. We all understand we want folks to have a good time, but I think this is beyond that. This is what was provided as a reasonable expectation. They pretty much have just totally discounted and decided that they weren't willing to abide by this. So once again, I really appreciate your time, and be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander Jeffries. Also, for my colleagues, this evening, we have 3 speakers speaking against this resolution. I have a Shamir Doffman. Would you please proceed to the podium and please state your name, address, and your affiliation with Midway on High, and you have 3 minutes.
May I remove my mask, President? Thank you. So I am Samir Daman. I've recently been retained to represent A&R Creative Group, which owns Midway on High. I only have 3 minutes, so I'm sorry that I wasn't able to send this letter until about 4:45 today, so please forgive me, but I beg you to read the letter. Just real quick, what we are asking is to table this motion at least until the December 13th hearing, because we believe that some of the things in Commander Jeffries' letter warrant further investigation. For example, he cites 34 police reports. One of those police reports is a road rage incident that happened on the side of High Street near Ohio State. Another one of those incidents is us getting robbed, is Midway getting robbed, and he's citing that as one of the 34 examples of why Midway is a bad bar. Another one is someone calling in a noise violation complaint from over 2 miles away. Sound does not travel that far, and if it did, I live less than 2 miles away, I would have known about it. So what I'm getting at, President Hardin and City Council, is please at least give us a couple weeks to get our heads around this so that a just and fair and factually accurate outcome is achieved. The remedy that the city is asking is to close the bar. We all know that if losing a liquor permit at that license will put the 79 employees they will become unemployed people. That is a drastic step. The city has revoked liquor permits before. Those are for when there are murders on the premises. I believe it was a recent meeting. Murders on the premises or 50-plus underage drinking violations. Neither of those circumstances are present here. City Attorney Dunbar, Mr. Dunbar said that there were, let's see, darn it. He talked about violence. He said sexual assaults and stabbings. Those were not in Midway. Those were near Midway, near 13th and High. What he's equating is correlation versus a causation. An agreed judgment entry is an agreement by parties. I'm not going to quibble with whether it's compelled or not because a party is scared. The stage, that's been there for 10 years. That's not a new thing that Midway just kind of weaseled its way around. That has been there. The city attorney's office could have negotiated that. They were well aware that there was Ethel and Tank, a parking lot where an outdoor party happens on game day, and then Midway. The entrance to Midway on High is not on High Street anymore. And I'll let my client speak to when that was changed, but if there's overcrowding, maybe it's Big Bar, which is located right next door. In terms of the the burden on police resources, in my letter, I think I note that so Commander Jeffries' letter notes there was 34 violations or police reports related to 1728 North High, Midway on High, between January 1st of 2020 and the present. Guess how many there were for Bullwinkles? Almost 20, almost 2 times, 60 plus some, and they're not here. One of the police reports I read for, pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry. One of the police reports I read for Bullwinkles was about someone actually getting raped in Bullwinkle. And the victim was the security guard who pulled the rapist out of there. That's not what was being alleged regarding Midway. So please, give us equal protection under the law. At least table this motion so that the facts can be brought out. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is there any questions that I can answer?
Councilmember Favor?
Thank you for your testimony this evening, as well as this letter that I'll definitely get into a little bit deeper. But as Attorney Steve Dunbar, mentioned, this has been an ongoing matter between the city attorney's office and your client since 2018. So how much more time do you need to get things in a better situation?
Certainly. So the environmental court can close us. The environmental court has the ability to close the restaurant. So the city, whether it's city council or through the city attorney's office, they still have that remedy. I'm just begging the city council to at least table this, at least until the December 13th meeting. I mean, I've been working on this nonstop for the past 10-ish days. And so that's what I'm requesting. I'm not saying don't pass it, but at least give us some time.
But there is the understanding that even if we do vote to object to the renewal of the liquor permit, that's not the end-all be-all, that you still have the opportunity to engage in conversation with the city attorney's office to reach that resolution that you're advocating for tonight, right?
I know what you're saying, but you don't need 2 guns to kill 1 person. Like, the city attorney can already shut the business down through the environmental court, which will have to accept facts, whereas this is a political body that can just say, it's okay. We just accept what we've been told, and that's okay. And I'm not discounting the political body, but the court has to take in facts and go through that process. And so the city attorney will still have that arrow in its quiver to close the bar if, in fact, these 34 incidents are related, and the vast majority are not. It's Midway on High is right there, so the report says Midway on High, but it was something totally unrelated. It was at a different establishment. Mm-hmm. But, in terms of, this has been going on since 2018, I just wish that I had more time to walk through the facts of it, but it's certainly ramped up lately, the pressure that they've been feeling. But I can give you my word that I will do everything in my power to work with the owners to make sure that they abide by the law, they respect the city, they respect the prosecutors. I mean, they are good citizens. These aren't bar owners. Do you know the Crest? Do you know Alchemy? I mean, they're not, bar guys hanging out with patrons just having fun. They're into sustainability and all that kind of stuff. This isn't their MO. Mm-hmm. So I hope that answers your question, council member.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Doffman. I have also a Ryan McKee, if he's present. Please proceed to the podium. Please state your name, address, and your affiliation with Midway on High, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Council President Harden, council members, thanks for hearing me today. My name is Ryan McKee. I live at 21 East 5th, Columbus, Ohio. My role for A&R Creative is as the experience director and coordinator. I wanted to talk to you guys today about my experience there and what my job is. At the end of the day, my job is to make sure everyone there is having a good time, that everyone's being taken care of, that we're following the rules, and we're pushing a good experience for our customers, our neighbors, and just the overall community that we're in. I think we follow the rules. At 11 o'clock, we turn the sound off. In fact, I've had the police talk to me when I'm there, and they've asked if our music was off, and it was, and it was the bar next to us, the music that they were talking about. I'm not sure it's possible that our music could be heard so far away.
Thank you, Mr. McKee. Also, we have another speaker this evening, Ali Al-Shaha. Mr. Shahal, please proceed to the podium. Please state your full name, your address, and your affiliation with Midway on High, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, Mr. President, Council. My name is Ali Al-Shahal, 4160 Rutherford Road, Powell, Ohio. I am the part owner of a family small business of A&R Creative that includes Midway. Samir talked a little bit about A&R. A&R is not just Midway, it is the Crest, the marketing, Franklin Press, involved in many nonprofit, involved in the community in many ways. But speaking about Midway, Midway is also something that is a priority, and it is vital to us. We're passionate about Midway as much as any of our other locations. We have spent so much time and effort into working with the city and working with the community about some of these issues that have been brought to the table today. Ryan McKee has been inserted to just create a much better experience, but also to be able to be responsible enough to manage some of these restrictions that came upon us. In 2018, this court law, this agreement, we heard through our previous attorney that they potentially were going to recommend against taking our license away. So we set up a meeting. We came up with an agreement moving forward. There are some of these allegations that are being made that it's honestly just like, it's this feeling that you get like, wow, this is not us. Absolutely not us. We're talking about sound. We're talking about all these elements that's being brought to the table that are being exaggerated, you know, and not to say that we are perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and we can become better. We have never operated a day at Midway without special duty on site. We've never had a major incident or have been criminally charged with anything that has to do with some of these offenses. We are the people on the streets that care about our community, care about our staff, care about our customers. We are the people that set the meeting back in August to invite the entire city. How can we be partners and not work against each other? And we're talking about sound, and we're talking about some of these allegations that are being made against us. It's disheartening because we are the community. We are the small business. And we don't have that ability to be loud and just not ourselves. We are humble and we are quiet, but we have taken our business and we are dedicated to it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Attorney Dunbar, would you like to rebut?
Thank you, Councilmember, members of council. Just very quickly, we did go to environmental court. Environmental court did close the bar for a week. It didn't work. And yes, you know, there is you all vote to recommend the permit does not get renewed. It's beginning of a process. I mean, to say, you know, I've only had 10 days, give me more time. We're talking 3 years. To say I need time to look at all of these calls. I need time to ensure equal protection under the law. There's an entire justice system that will afford exactly that. So again, I cannot stress enough. I mean, to say they can go to court, they can close us down, that doesn't work. Been there, done that. And so the extent to which we take 10 steps back and look at, is this or is this not a responsible owner of a liquor permit in the city of Columbus? This is not a close one. And to table it for a few weeks for something that's going to change, given especially this period of time, given this type of intensive trying to work with folks formally and informally, I cannot imagine what in the world would change in 2-3 weeks that would make us go a different direction with this. And you know, we intentionally moved away from let's all run in the New Year's Eve to just do a bunch of liquor permit objections. And this is at Councilmember Brown's work primarily, and it's the right way to do it. And we need to do it respectfully. We need to do it that way. I cannot stress enough. We are exploring, we have explored every option we have, and we struggle to find something that works.
Yes, Councilmember Brown.
I just have a quick question. When has the state hearing yet about these liquor permit objections been called, or do you know when it is?
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
The state hearing, I'm sorry, I never get this term right, but whatever the liquor board that sets their hearing, so they hear cities and township objections, has that been set yet?
No. So what happens is, these come in all through the year, really, from cities all over the place. They get set one by one. I will tell you, last year's objections, half of those have not had hearings yet. So, sometimes Ms. Pomeroy will come up and go, gee, we got to do it again just because we haven't had a hearing. That hearing is 6 months away if we're lucky. The way the schedule works over there. I cannot stress enough. Every protection, every one of these things is going to get looked at, as it always does.
Okay. Thank you for that. So we don't really know when it is. I mean, obviously my request of the office, it's been a long time that you've been working with Midway without the results that you want to see. And I think that can obviously lead to a lot of exasperation at this point. And my request of the office and of your team, which I know them and they're honest brokers and I expect they'll be this way as you are, is to still engage as honestly in sort of negotiations to see if they can deliver on the requests and requirements you have of them. Because we are at this point, it would be tempting to say like fait accompli, there's no remediation possible before that hearing. I would really urge you not to take that approach and to engage earnestly. If they are eager for us to table and have these few weeks, maybe without a table with passage here tonight, they can apply that eagerness to their conversations with the office. And I just think that would be good for all sides.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Remy.
Yeah, again, to your point, this isn't the end of the alcohol. Tonight, if we do pass this, then they're going to continue to operate as they have, hopefully in good faith, that they'll work with your office to correct the issues. They have that time before the hearing is set with the liquor control. So it would be our hope that everything comes to a successful remedy. People can move on and operate a successful business without the discomforts that it might lead to the neighborhoods. So appreciate that opportunity.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other comments? My council colleagues will say to you very, very clearly, they have been working with these people since 2018. Nothing has happened appropriately. The attorney for the city attorney's office has met with them, and now they've changed another attorney. Enough. Pure and simple. With that, I move for adoption of the objection.
Second.
And I call for a voice vote.
Oh, okay. Second.
Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Ms. Brown? Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorrance?
Yes.
Ms. Favor? Yes. Mr. Remy? Yes. Ms. Tyson?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes. Passed.
Council President, also this evening, I have Ordinance 2928, 2021, to authorize and direct the city auditor to appropriate and to establish an auditor certificate in the amount of $670,956 for the purchase of equipment, supplies, and services for the Division of Police, to authorize and direct the Director of Finance and Management and the Director of Public Safety to enter into various contracts for the purchase of equipment, supplies, and services on behalf of the Division of Police, to authorize the expenditure of $670,956 from the Law Enforcement Drug Seizure Fund. In September 2020, the City of Columbus completed a negotiated purchase of a new Bell Model 407 GXI helicopter for the Division of Police. In October 2020, the division took delivery of the new helicopter. As ordered and delivered, the helicopter was not in mission-ready status. Mission-ready status would be a helicopter completely outfitted with radios, avionics, searchlight, mapping, computers, and camera systems to be utilized by the division's helicopter unit for day-to-day patrol operations. The intent, with budgetary concerns in mind, was to retrofit the helicopter with aftermarket equipment not purchased through or installed by the aircraft manufacturer, and to use seizure funds to do so. To date, the helicopter does not have the necessary equipment purchased or installed to be capable of conducting law enforcement aviation missions. I have with me this morning or this afternoon, Director Clark is available to speak to the additional information required with regard to the support for CPD's aviation unit. Director Clark?
Good evening, President Hardin, Pro Tem Brown, and members of City Council. We recognize today that we are involved in a law enforcement era where the equipment that our women and men have to be able to protect our residents, as well as be able to respond to any threats that may pose a threat to our city, is essential. It is essential for not only their safety, but also the safety of our residents. The equipment that we have and that we just spoke of is here, but it sits on the ground and it is not adequately equipped to be able to do the job that we require for it to do, to be able to serve the residents of Columbus. Also, to be able to allow our police officers to do the job in which they swore to do, and that is to protect the citizens of Columbus. We recognize that these expenditures are expensive, but technology is expensive, and we are committed. The Director of Public Safety's office is committed, along with the Chief of Police and Commander Sagal and others who are responsible for this technology, to make sure that we are equipping our officers with the very best in technology that they can have in order to do the job, the very difficult job that we've asked them to do. Second to that, with the hiring of Chief Brown and Assistant Chief Potts, along with myself, we are constantly and consistently talking about how we utilize technology, not in the manner in which we just saw over the last couple of years across this country, but in a new, more proactive and reactive and a process that allows us to establish a very different set of operating procedures to be able to utilize this equipment, again, to ensure the safety of the residents of Columbus while adhering to a very different standard of protocol and procedures and not repeat the mistakes of the past. I'm very proud of the work that the women and men of Division of Police do. They do a very difficult job that we've asked them to do, and as leaders of public safety, we owe them the very best equipment and the very best technology that we have available to us to be able to do the job that we've asked them to do. Chief Bryan and Commander Sagal are sitting behind me, and they can certainly offer much more detail when it comes to the specificity of the technology. But again, with the conversations I've had, the briefings I've had, and certainly the 35 years of experience that I bring to the city of Columbus, I recognize the technology is where the future is to being able to service and provide the service that not only the citizens of Columbus expect us to provide, but our women and men of public safety deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Clark. And thank you to Chief Bryant and Commander Slagle. Are there any questions with regards to this particular legislation? Councilor in favor.
So how much money does the city essentially save by not ordering a mission-ready, I hope I'm using that term correct, a mission-ready helicopter?
Councilmember Favor, that's a very good question, and I know Commander Sagal will be more equipped to answer that question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Typically, just like anything from a factory setting, there's going to be a markup on it. So as we were exploring purchasing new aircraft, to give you an example of one of the pieces of equipment, a high-definition camera on the regular market runs somewhere in the $450,000 to $470,000 range. When purchased through the manufacturer, it's getting up into the $600,000 to $700,000 range with their markup. So you can kind of multiply that across each piece of equipment that we're asking for. So it's the Searchlight, same thing. It was about a $30,000 to $40,000 markup to order through directly, so it would come mission equipped. Now, that doesn't we also, part of this seizure fund request, asked for installation. So you could, if I actually went back to Bell and got an exact quote, I could tell you the exact numbers, but it's about a third markup on everything.
And is this how we traditionally purchase helicopters? Do we always purchase them not mission ready?
Yes, ma'am. We always purchased the aircraft themselves, and then we used old equipment on the helicopters. This purchase was a little bit different because we switched manufacturers. And when we switched manufacturers from MD to Bell for this purchase, it made the equipment that we currently had obsolete for that helicopter. So we had to address purchasing new equipment for this helicopter, which would also update the technology that's currently 15 to 20 years old, which is the old equipment.
So purchasing older equipment, does that compromise the life expectancy of the helicopter because we're using older equipment to outfit it?
No, what it does is it just makes us less efficient as a unit. So obviously we want the ability to fly higher, safer, use technology to our advantage. And our older equipment is becoming so outdated and obsolete. There's been so many technological advances over 15 to 20 years, which is when we purchased our cameras and things like that, that it just makes it more difficult, especially because we end up having to lay the equipment in for service quite often, things that you wouldn't see with newer, updated equipment. And again, on this particular ordinance, we're asking for that money because the equipment does not match the helicopter that we purchased.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Brown?
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you, Commander Sagal. And I appreciate the being able to see the helicopters and see the technology and understand where your request comes from. I am wondering, though, the equipment that this ordinance contemplates purchasing, is it only usable? You said the old equipment couldn't be used on the Bell. Is this equipment only for the Bell?
No, some of it couldn't be used, some of it can. Like the camera, which the cameras are approximately 15 years old, we're asking for a new updated camera. And part of the seizure fund is also a wiring harness kit so that we could also retrofit it onto one of our other existing MD helicopters as well. So some of the equipment is interchangeable. It's the camera specifically that's interchangeable. We can actually move it from aircraft to aircraft. That's why we don't need to own a camera for every aircraft that we own. But the searchlights are mounted to that particular aircraft, so that needs to be in it. The computer equipment, the avionics equipment, the radios, those are specific to that aircraft itself.
Okay. And when was the Bell purchased?
It was purchased,
Well, when
we
did
took
it
delivery
arrive?
last year in the fall. It was September or October, I don't recall exactly.
So since that time, because it is the 5th helicopter and it's been grounded, so since that time, our fleet has been 4 helicopters. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So by purchasing this equipment tonight, we're effectively adding a helicopter to the fleet because we are calling up a 5th helicopter.
No, our authorized strength is 5 helicopters, and that's what allows us to complete our mission on a daily basis. It's just allowing us to get back to a consistent flying schedule that puts us in line with what our mission is to support patrol.
I understand that, and I understand the request here tonight. I am asking the question because I know that the actual helicopters we've been able to use in the last year, there have been 4 that you have been flying with. And by outfitting this one tonight, there will be 5 that the fleet will now utilize and fly with. And that is why I'm going to vote the way that I am on this ordinance, and that's why I wanted to clarify the question.
No, I understand.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? And Councilmember Dorns.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Director Clark, you mentioned earlier, probably more eloquently than I could, the expectations of the community in 2021, and as we certainly move into a new era of law enforcement that's trying to do the best job it can in a time of rising crime rates, while also meeting community expectations. 2 things have happened to me, the last week or 2 that I've thought a lot about as we've come up to this vote tonight. I was at a community event a week or 2 ago, had a resident from the South Side that went on and on about the omnipresent nature of the helicopter on their side of the city. I've lived in areas of the city that the helicopter feels like it's above your house every single day.
Right.
Right? I have felt that myself, and certainly in some areas of the city, people have felt it far more than I have, and what that feels like that they live in every single day, and that visceral emotional reaction that they have to it. At 4 o'clock today, I walked out of my kids' daycare at 4 p.m. on the south side and heard 4 gunshots go off as I was walking my 11-month-old son to the car. There's a tension there, right? Between making sure we're meeting community expectations and keeping people safe. This body has legislation pending that was tabled months ago that would deal with thinking about restrictions on the usage of the fleet to make sure that we're addressing the exact thing that you're talking about, that we're using these things appropriately. I don't believe that legislation will come up for a vote here before the end of the year, but I certainly would like to ask you and Chief Bryant to work with council on that legislation heading into next year. Because again, as you pointed out, there's new people in both your positions, and we encountered stiff resistance from folks that were in your shoes before that. And if both you and Chief Bryant are as serious as I think you are about doing the work to meet community expectations, that tension that I just talked about between feeling like there's a helicopter above your house and what that does to you mentally versus what I experienced at 4 o'clock today. And I know there are folks that I drove past on that street that experience that way too often. So I'm asking both Director Clark and Chief Bryant tonight to commit to council that you will work with us in good faith in 2022 on legislation that addresses those community expectations so we can make that clear. And I know Commander has certainly worked with council in the past on that, and I certainly believe him to be a good actor, but I wanted to ask that of you both tonight.
Councilman Dorn, we thank you for posing that. Chief Bryant and myself have talked consistently, along with Chief Potts, about this being a new era of law enforcement in the city of Columbus. When I stood before council months ago, I shared with you that we would be committed to finding new ways to do old things. We recognize that we have to deliver safety and protection and service to the city. We recognize that. That's why we're here, and that's what we intend to do. But we also will ensure that we are building coalitions and collaborations and partnerships with our resident partners to bring a very different dynamic of public safety. One of the things that was not mentioned in regards to the aircraft is that this enhanced equipment will allow it to fly higher and much more quieter. And I recognize what you're talking about that hovering and our children being afraid to think that something is always going on in their neighborhood because they constantly hear the helicopter. I recognize what you're talking about. There's a host of technology that is before council right now, and I know we're going to talk about that, but we recognize the responsibility that comes with technology. One of the things that we recognize as responsibility is to have that open, transparent, accountable conversation and be committed to a very different process of not just purchasing equipment, but utilizing equipment, which comes with a very new standard operating procedure, and as I've shared with you already, very new leadership that understands where we have been, not just in the city of Columbus, but across the country, the concerns that our residents have about what is next, what's going to happen tonight, what's going to happen this weekend. We recognize that. We've already been in the community, as I'm sure you know, having those conversations. And yes, not speaking for the chief, but we assure you we are open to that very engaging, accountable, and transparent conversation, as I shared just last week, that we are committed to doing that. And we encourage those invitations.
Thank you, Director.
Councilmember Tyson.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Brown and Safety Director Clark. You know, I'm appreciative that this new piece of equipment will allow maybe us to fly higher so you don't hear the noise that is disruptive to individuals. But I also just want to be really clear. I think it's important, even when you're out talking to the community, as to when helicopters are in a community, what does that mean? Because, you know, I can't believe, and I don't want to speak, I'm going to speak, that hopefully helicopters aren't hovering just for hovering's sake, that there would be something going on that a helicopter is there. And I think we have to be very clear about what that means. And so, by providing data about where they are, where crime is happening. And then there's certain areas, you're right, there probably helicopters are in certain communities more so than they're going to be in other communities. I mean, unfortunately, that may be the case. But certainly, I think that there has to really be real communication about, the use of this equipment. I certainly live in a neighborhood that does not seem to have a lot of crime. My residents, my neighbors might think it is compared to other places. And there are going to be times when the helicopter does come in my neighborhood, and I certainly hear it. And when I hear it, my first thought is there's something going on. And so if that is the case, I think we just have to be very clear about what is going on. I mean, because if there is something going on, I want the right response for whatever the situation is.
Sure.
And I think that's where we have to have that clarification. And then the use of all the equipment, because the goal of it is to keep our residents safe. And I think that has to be the number one goal at all times. So I'm appreciative that this new piece of equipment will fly higher. And I think that it would be helpful, whether it be not only yourself and Chief Bryant, but also the police officers that are at the area commissions to really share why we have certain equipment. I think that would also be quite helpful. And that may help, move legislation forward as we're explaining things to our residents.
Sure. Councilwoman Tyson, thank you very much for that. And of course, Commander Schlegel is the expert at why and when and where they're using the airships. But I can tell you that as the Director of Public Safety, the mission criticalness of that equipment is for our women and men who are on the street, in the patrol cars, who are dealing with very dangerous situations and very dangerous individuals. And the airships will be able to assist them with cameras, with lights. And we've all seen the pursuits on television where the patrol cars will back off quite simply because the airship has been able to take over, saving not only police officer lives, but saving residents' lives as well.
Council President.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the Director, to the Chief, to the Commander. I think that, when we take these votes, you have to put it in context to the history, both recent and long-term, and the communities in which have spoken up, who have felt hurt, who have felt fearful of these types of technologies, and truthfully, how they may have been misused in the past. One of the things when I was talking to, I think the chief earlier today, she said, it's not about what tool you give a department. It's about the accountability that comes with it. And so to me, it's not about the tool. I do believe that this is a life-saving tool that will help both save our officers' lives and our residents' lives. And I think the majority of our residents want that. But I do also think that it's important for our residents to hear and understand that we have not always done well with the resources that we've had. I think there's been documented cases, of that. But that we are working to get better and that we will hold ourselves accountable with these tools and others that will keep our residents safe. I think that goes a long way, not just on this piece of equipment, because we will have to take tough votes like this, not just tonight, but in the future too. And we will do that because safety is our top priority. But we also, with those tools and that responsibility, has to come the accountability. Has to become the ability to look our residents in the face and say, we were not perfect then, we won't be perfect in the future, but we will be better, and we won't hold ourselves accountable, but together as a community, we know that we will be held accountable. And I think that also goes a long way in taking a vote like this and equipment that we have coming before us.
Councilmember Brown.
I'm just wondering, because I didn't ask this question when I was out there, the Bell is significantly bigger than the other helicopters. Is it also louder because its size is bigger? So it would have, I just don't know that about helicopters.
So it will be slightly louder. And the main reason is because it has nothing to do with the size of the helicopter itself. It has to do with the size of the rotor blades.
Okay.
They're a little bit wider.
In order to keep it
so
up.
we're actually wanting to fly it at a higher altitude.
So how much higher does this technology allow it to fly?
Well, we'll have to enter into an MOU with the FAA, basically. Right now, we work with them with an MOU because there's all kinds of different helicopters flying throughout the city of Columbus, medical, media, and police. And also private as well. So we enter into an MOU with them as to what altitude we fly at. Now, because us, along with medical, are the ones that fly the most within the city limits, we usually get to work pretty well with them. But if we flip-flop and go up to 2,000 feet, medical is going to go down to 1,500 feet because we have to fly at different altitudes for safety.
Do you know yet what altitude you'll request, or that's a process you'll initiate?
We're probably going to request 2,000 to 2,500 feet.
Okay. And I appreciate that. And I agree on the tool that helicopters are and how important they are for the division. And I do not see this question here tonight about whether, should we have helicopters or shouldn't we? I see it as, should we call up a fifth helicopter, a larger fifth helicopter? And I look forward to when the technology to fly higher can be afforded to the other 4 helicopters, which I think is a more appropriate size for our fleet. So thank you for the additional questions being answered.
Thank you. Councilman Favor.
I think to build on the last 2 points, to me, this conversation isn't about the effectiveness of helicopters. I know how effective they really are. But I do call into question whether or not this is the appropriate time to outfit a 5th one, right? Understanding that accountability and taking people at their word that this is a new era, and I wholeheartedly believe that we truly are entering a new era of policing in Columbus and safety in Columbus. We have to demonstrate that, right? We have to be able to show our residents that that is the space in which we're moving. And I struggle with this vote today because there just hasn't been enough time to be able to demonstrate that. But what we are hearing, from the community is the constant harassment that could come from helicopters or a feeling of being unsafe. And so whether or not, a 5th helicopter will be able to alleviate some of that pressure, I honestly, I really don't know. But we are dealing with that conflict or the consequence of, for lack of a better word, lack of accountability or lack of transparency in the past. And that is a tough conversation to have with residents, especially when we're talking about a $670,000 purchase. So I'm incredibly excited that we have Director Clark and Chief Bryant here, and I thank you for all the work that you've done, and I appreciate the time that you all have done and provided council members to engage at the department. But it is a constant struggle that I deal with in working with constituents.
Thank you, Councilman Favor. Certainly, in my opinion, I'd be remiss if Chief Bryant did not want to make some sort of a comment.
Thank you, Councilman Brown.
Yes.
I just want to say to all the council members, thank you for having me. I completely understand what you're saying, and I get it. The one thing about the helicopters are this 5th one will be outfitted so that it can fly higher. The other 4 are not in a position to do that yet, and we don't know when that's going to happen. It would be great to have a helicopter that does meet that requirement to be able to do that. But more importantly, like President Hardin said, it's about accountability. And it's up to us to make sure that these are being used in the manner that they're supposed to. And more importantly, to change that narrative in the culture of people feeling harassed or feeling scared when they hear the helicopters, to more about excitement for the children and using them in a positive manner to be able to utilize them, not just about fighting crime, but to utilize them in other ways to be able to engage our residents in our processes and things that we do and allow the children to be able to see them, take them to the schools, do other activities that would engage them and have them feel more positive about what we do. And our helicopter fleet is what I call our air patrol. So it's just like having another shift up in the air. And these helicopters, they don't fly consistently. They have to come down, they have to be grounded, they have to refuel. So to be able to interchange and be able to get helicopters up at any given moment when something is occurring, they're able to respond at a 1.2 minute time frame, as opposed to a scout car that may have to travel way across their particular precinct. And as we know, our scout cars, we have a shortage. So having that tool and having that ability to be able to get there, or just like you say that some people hear the helicopters flying, there are other people that are in distress that hear them flying. They're very grateful to hear those helicopters coming at times. So I just want to put that out there and say that there are times where it's extremely crucial that we have them and they're able to respond. And specifically in the summertime when we're dealing with people that are drag racing, people that are speeding, people that are doing things that we are not allowed to on the ground specifically respond to, but we can in the air and be able to hold those people accountable. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief Bryant. With that, and I think, Councilman Remy, I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I know you went up in the helicopter and you had the opportunity to see them directly engaged in finding someone, if I'm not mistaken. Would you like to speak to that issue?
Sure. I obviously see the value in them. We found a mentally disabled young youth, Lyndon McKinley High School, that was missing, and their value is incredible to the community, to what you do to serve the community, to not put people in danger, and the speed in which they can find things versus patrol cars is remarkable. I will take the opportunity, since you called on me, to say that it's been my position that we absolutely need to outfit these helicopters with the latest technology. The fact that we're using is antiquated technology in today's world is somewhat of an embarrassment. So the opportunity to outfit this copter with the latest technology makes all the sense in the world, and our citizens should demand that we have the latest technology to serve them. For all the reasons that have been mentioned already, including the height at which they can fly and the capabilities that they'll be able to have with this technology, it's incredibly important that we make it a mission that we outfit these helicopters with the latest technology so we can be the best police department with the greatest technology, not only in the state of Ohio, but the United States of America.
Thank you, Councilman. With that, if there are no additional questions from my colleagues, I move for passage and I ask for a voice vote.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Ms. Brown? No. Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorans?
Yes.
Ms. Favor? No. Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Ms. Tyson?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes, ordinance is passed.
Also tonight, Council President, I have Ordinance 2960, 2021, to authorize and direct the city auditor to appropriate and to establish an auditor certificate in the amount of $375,000 for the purchase of a rescue vehicle for the Division of Police, to authorize and direct the Director of Finance and Management to enter into a contract for the purchase of the rescue vehicle on behalf of the Division of Police, and to authorize the expenditure of $375,000 from the Law Enforcement Drug Seizure Fund. In 2020, in conjunction with recommendations from the Fleet Management Division, the Division of Police requested funding to purchase a Lenco rescue vehicle to replace a similar vehicle which has been in operation for 16 years and is in need of replacement due to age, technological upgrades, and reliability issues. This request will satisfy the growing needs of the Division of SWAT section and during its use in high-risk missions. The SWAT section serves all high-risk search warrants and barricaded subject missions. SWAT conducts over 200 requested missions each year, 60 to 80 being barricaded subjects. These missions are not only dangerous for the officers working the missions, but are dangerous for the citizens in surrounding homes and the community due to the unpredictable behavior of barricaded subjects. SWAT utilizes the rescue vehicles on every high-risk mission and needs the equipment to be reliable. There are currently no relief rescue vehicles in the division fleet, so there is no replacement when one of the rescue vehicles is out of service. Again, Director Clark, would you provide any additional information with regard to the request on the part of the division, sir?
Again, thank you, Chairman Brown. Again, to come before you today and say that our women and men deserve the latest and greatest equipment and technology that we can afford them would be an understatement. This vehicle will replace one that is now 16 years old. And having utilized these vehicles myself, both in local policing, federal policing, international policing, I recognize the need for such a vehicle to be able to allow our officers, again, to do the very difficult job that we ask them to do. We recognize, as I said earlier, that we are in a very different era of policing and providing those policing services, but we are also in a very different era with the types of threats that we face: mental illness, impacts from the pandemic and quarantining and all the other things that we are suffering through right now. And we just have very different types of individuals that our officers have to engage with almost on a daily basis. I have been here for 2 months, and I think there has been at least a dozen, if not more, barricaded situation calls that our officers have had to respond to. The Division of Police lost an officer atop a rescue vehicle simply because it was not equipped properly, and he was injured and died in the line of duty. As the Director of Public Safety, my priority is to make sure that within my capability, the capability of my office in partnership with City Council, that we provide our women and men with the very best equipment that we can. This vehicle will replace one that is 16 years old, as I've already shared. It will also reduce the cost that is associated with trying to maintain a vehicle that's 16 years old. Also, it will allow us to engage in a more accountable process for utilizing these resources because it will be equipped according to current standards, and it will be deployed and utilized as the Chief of Police and the Assistant Chief of Police, in conjunction with myself, see appropriate and see fit according to new standard operating procedures that we are implementing. As I shared already, we are in a very different era of policing, and scaring, intimidating, threatening, or bullying our residents is not a part of that new era of policing. The chief, the assistant chief, and myself, we recognize the responsibility that we have as new leaders in the city to build those relationships of accountability. As we shared with the helicopter, while integrity in the air, the accountability starts on the ground in the residents that we engage, the organizations that we talk to, the philosophies that we share. And these tools and resources will just allow our women and men to remain safe while they do the very difficult job and address the very difficult and evolving threats that they are called to do almost on a daily basis. Thank you.
Questions? I have to take a moment of personal reflection because Director Clark brought up a police officer who was killed in the line of duty, and it was under my direction as the director at the time. I knew the officer personally, and when you have that kind of responsibility, you want to make certain that you always provide the officers with all the tools that they need to get the job done. And you second guess yourself whether or not you should have done something more when the situation happened. So I take personal concerns with regards to this activity. So with that, if there are no additional questions, I move for passage, and I call for a voice vote.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Ms. Brown? Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorans?
Yes.
Ms. Faber? Yes. Mr. Ramey? Yes. Ms. Tyson?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes, ordinance is passed.
Thank you, Council President. Also this evening, I have Ordinance 3001-2021, to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to enter a contract with Samori LLC to purchase a private server and workstation to store digital evidence, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, Chapter 329, to authorize the expenditure of $255,990 from the Law Enforcement Seizure Fund, and to declare an emergency. Again, Director Clark, would you speak to the request to waive competitive bidding, sir?
Yes, specifically when we're talking about technology, there are just certain vendors who provide the technology. In regards to the ShotSpotter technology, we are already involved with a single source vendor who understands the dynamics of the city, understands where the cameras are placed, the technology that needs to be upgraded, needs to be enhanced. We already have a very good working relationship with them, and quite honestly, for the women and men who respond to those ShotSpotter calls every single day and all night, to delay the upgrade of that system literally would put lives in danger. It would affect their ability to appropriately, quickly respond to those calls and be able to respond to the technology that we already have in place. The company that we're working with are well equipped, well engaged, and really understand the needs of the city of Columbus.
If there are no additional questions, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
And my final ordinance this evening, sir, is 3078-2020, to authorize the Finance and Management Director to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate universal term contract purchase agreement for the purchase of body-worn cameras, accessories, and video management systems for the Division of Police, to authorize the expenditure of $101,042 from the general fund, and to declare an emergency. The Finance and Management and Public Safety Departments are in the final stages of a best value procurement process to select a vendor for new body-worn cameras. However, this purchase will avoid any gap in the camera shortage before completing this new purchase process, which is expected to take at least 6 months. Director Clark, did you have any other comments, sir?
Thank you for the opportunity to be before you so much this evening. But in all seriousness, the upgrading of our body-worn camera system is really that first level of accountability, and making sure that we not only are providing the latest and best equipment that we can to our women and men, but that the system of accountability is the very best that we can afford our residents. The storage of video, being able to have access or direct access from the prosecutor's office to that video. As you can imagine, there's tons and tons of video that we acquire every single day. This new expenditure, this new system will increase that capability, will increase that accountability, will increase that engagement from our prosecutor's office, and making sure that when we tell a story, that we are able to not only support that with video evidence, but with technological evidence that our officers are well trained in, that they understand the accountability factors associated with that technology, and it just becomes a normal part of their equipment, a normal part of their engagement process, and making sure that we are demonstrating to the residents, as you said so eloquently, Councilwoman Favor, that we are demonstrating to our community that we are committed to transparency, we are committed to accountability, and this equipment is going to help us and allow us and encourage us to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Clark. Again, this is maintaining the current system. Did you have a question, Councilman Favor? Oh, maintaining the existing system until the recommendations will come before this council on a new system for body-worn cameras, which I would hopefully have before the end of the year, but if not, certainly will be into the month of January into 2022. If there are no questions, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President, and to Chief Clark and Director Clark and Chief Bryant, my thank yous, and of course to Commander Schlegel. It's appreciated. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Public Utilities Committee, chaired by Councilmember Dorans. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First ordinance I have in public utilities tonight, it's ordinance number 2514-2021 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate universal term contract purchase agreements for the purchase of materials, supplies, services for the Division of Sewerage, Drainage, Jackson Place Wastewater Treatment Plant, and to authorize the expenditure of $1,035,000 from the Sewerage Operating Fund. The parts, materials, and services from these contracts are used to monitor, maintain, and repair equipment for various processes throughout the Jackson Pike Wastewater Treatment Plant as required by both state and federal standards. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage by a voice vote and ask President Pro Tem Brown to call for that vote.
Clerk, need a second.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorrance?
Yes.
Ms. Faber? Yes. Mr. Remy? Yes. Ms. Tyson?
Yes.
President Harden?
Abstain.
President Pro Tem Brown?
Yes. Ordinance passes.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance number 2818-2021 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to renew an existing engineering agreement with Brown and Caldwell, Ohio LLC for the Cellular Wastewater Treatment Plant Digestion Process Expansion Project, to authorize transfer and appropriation of expenditure of up to $2,875,701.86 from the Sanitary Sewer PAYGO Fund 6116 and to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget. The Cellular Wastewater Treatment Plant Digestion Process Expansion will increase the beneficial reuse of biosolids from multiple departments, programs resulting from the growth of the city of Columbus. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorrance, Faber, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And with your permission, Council President, I'd like to go out of order and move to Rules and Reference Committee on page 18 of our agenda tonight.
Please.
Thank you. First, in Rules and Reference, I have ordinance 2142-2021 to enact Chapter 1117 of the Columbus City Codes to provide watershed protection on reservoir and land stewardship property through the implementation and enforcement of best management practices consistent with high water quality, riparian buffer conservation standards. Riparian is a fun word to say, if anyone's still watching. This legislation appeared on first read for council's agenda last week on November 15th. And at this time, the Department of Public Utilities asked that I move to table this legislation until the council meeting on December 13th, 2021. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? I move to take. I'm sorry. I move to table this until the December 13th, 2021 council meeting.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorrance, Faber, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Table.
Thank you. Next, Council President, the next three ordinances also appeared on the first read on council's agenda last week, our meeting on November 15th, and were the subject of a hybrid public hearing that took place this past Tuesday in council chambers and online. They are the proposed utility rate adjustments for the year 2022. The Sewer and Water Advisory Board met earlier this year, and after reviewing the Department of Public Utilities' projected expenditures for fiscal year 2022, recommended to City Council a 5% increase in sanitary sewer rates, water rates of 4%, and stormwater increase rates at 3%. I want to personally thank the Sewer Water Advisory Board for their hard work in determining and proposing these rate increases. That is yet another layer of public transparency that is baked into this process, and I appreciate those members giving up their time to work with the department and provide that transparency. These rates go into effect on January 1st, 2022, which will allow the department to continue to provide excellent customer service in an environmentally friendly manner to more than 1.2 million residents in Central Ohio. We recognize that water and sewer charges disproportionately affect lower income groups, a fact that was certainly amplified during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. The Department of Public Utilities will continue to offer their low-income discount program that can help reduce a participant's sewer commodity portion of their bill by 20%. An existing payment relief program of the City of Columbus Power customers offer a one-time credit of up to $150 to go towards an eligible residential electric bill. Customers who participate in assistance programs such as HEAP, Medicaid, food stamps, or live in public housing may be eligible for a discount on their water and sewer bills. Seniors age 60 and up with limited income may also qualify for a discount on their bill. The Department of Public Utilities is also still utilizing CARES Act funds, so these are federal dollars, to help those that may be facing a utility shutoff due to an overdue bill. Please contact the Department of Public Utilities. Their website is columbus.gov/utilities. There is still significant resources available for anyone that is behind on a water or sewer bill, or anyone who's a City of Columbus electrical customer that is behind on their bill. Please contact the department to get access to these funds. I will now read each of these 3 ordinances and move for passage accordingly. First, we have ordinance number 2722-2021 to amend various sections of Chapter 1105 of the Columbus City Codes and to enact new water rates for the year beginning January 1st, 2022, and repeal the existing sections being amended. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Councilmember Faber.
Thank you, Councilmember Dorans. So the rates are come as a recommendation or advisement from the Sewer Water Advisory Board. Does council have the ability to negotiate what that percentage increase looks like, or do we just have to accept that?
Thank you, Councilmember Perry. We can certainly, amend that recommendation. The work of the Sewer Advisory Board, as I mentioned, is the public folks in the community that sit on that board. So what happens is the Department of Public Utilities will look at their budget and say, what do we need to increase these rates by in order to keep pace with infrastructure upgrades, other things that come before council every single week to make sure we've got clean drinking water and the appropriate sewer facilities for the city. So they look at their budget. They propose that to the Sewer Water Advisory Board, who then puts them through basically their paces of asking lots of tough questions. The Sewer Water Advisory Board then makes a recommendation based upon that then takes a legislative form that then comes to this body. So certainly we could amend that if that was the pleasure of the body. But this is basically both been reviewed by the department itself, basically to maintain the services that we're offering right now and continue on with the capital improvement program that we have, while also continue to implement the U.S. EPA consent decree that we have for Project Blueprint. So lots of different things get rolled into it. To answer your question very directly, we certainly could amend these in a different way. However, these are projections that are put into place based upon the department's initial review, Water Advisory Board looking at it, and then they come to us. One of the things that was asked during the hearing was we increase these rates on an annual basis. Common question is, well, especially with the pandemic, why wouldn't we hold a year or two without raising the rates? The response from the department to my question to them was, that essentially comes in the form of rate shock. So rather than a 3% increase or so, people might be looking at a 9, 11, or 12% increase when you have to add those things up down the line if nothing changed in the middle. So it's much easier for an individual customer to absorb those rates one at a time versus say it all hitting them at one time. Does that answer your question, Councilmember Faber?
It does. I just have concerns about our residents who are still being disproportionately impacted by the pandemic, struggling to meet rent. And so I know that the Department of Utilities has had some initiatives out there since the beginning of the pandemic to help folks who are financially struggling at this point in time. And you just briefed council with a lot of those programs that are still out there. But I guess I think my ask would be for the department to really up those outreach engagement efforts so that, come January and people see these 4%, increases, that it's going to be a shock, yes, but that they know that there's some programming and some financial assistance out there to help navigate this process.
Sure. So one of the things that the department has been doing is literally calling through the list of customers that are behind on their bill to, actually picking up the phone and calling them, telling them that this money is available. But I also want to pause and allow Interim Director Ann Aubrey, who I think is in the chair tonight, and talk more specifically about some of those programs, because the department is just as interested in getting these funds allocated. So one of the things that, because of the restrictions around the CARES Act, is they can't automatically apply it to the bill. So they need a customer basically to raise their hand and say, yes, I've been financially impacted by the pandemic. Let's check the box and get the funds there. So one of the things that they've been doing is basically asking, has there been a job loss or any reduction of income, and all the way down to just allowing folks to, basically sign a sworn affidavit saying that that is the case. So we're not putting lots of barriers in place. But Interim Director Aubrey, I don't know if you want to chime in with anything additional, because I know the department likes to take any opportunity, no matter how many folks are watching, to talk about these assistance programs.
Thank you, President Harden, Chair Dorans, Councilmember Favor. That's correct. We've been using Department of Neighborhoods, as well as our community partners to get out the message related to the CARES money we have available. We're also getting new members signed up for the low income program, as well as the senior discount. And we continue to promote the program, and we'll continue to do that. We have more funds available in 2022, and we'll continue to assist residents who are behind on their bills and need that additional assistance as we move into these rate increases.
Thank you, Interim Director, and I don't know if folks at home had trouble hearing it. We did a little bit in chambers, but what I will tell folks who are anyone watching now, check out Council's Facebook group, our Facebook page, my Facebook page, certainly any other members. I mean, we really want to make sure that these dollars are accessed. We just, to Councilmember Favor's point, we need folks to sort of raise their hand and say, we want these funds, and we've tried to partner with a lot of community groups that are out there, but anyone who can help us get the word out so that folks that have been hit the hardest during the pandemic are not dealing with some of these increases that unfortunately we sort of have to deal with right now, simply to make sure that there isn't large increases like the city experienced 10 plus years ago, in which there were double digits for rate increases. Thank you, Councilmember Favor. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? So on ordinance number 2722-2021, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Next, I have ordinance number 2724-2021 to amend section 1147.11 of the Columbus City Code to enact new sanitary sewer service rates for the year beginning January 1, 2022, and to repeal existing sections being amended. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
And finally, in rules and reference, I have ordinance number 2725-2021 to amend section 1149.08 of the Columbus City Codes to enact new stormwater fees for the year beginning January 1, 2022, and to repeal existing section being amended. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And Council President, with your permission, I'd like to move back to the Technology Committee on page 15 of our agenda tonight.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. The Technology Committee, we have ordinance number 2871-2021 to authorize the Director of the Department of Technology to modify an existing contract with Tran Products LLC doing business as TP Resources on behalf of the Department of Public Services for an enhancement to its pavement assessment work limited system, to waive relevant sections of Chapter 329 of Columbus City Codes pertaining to competitive bidding, to authorize the expenditure of $247,050 from the operating budget of the Street Construction Maintenance Fund to the Department of Public Services, Division of Transportation Design and Construction, and to declare an emergency. On December 7th, 2020, ordinance number 2727-2020 authorized entering into a contract with TP Resources for the development of Pavement Assessment Work Limited System 2.0 for the Department of Public Service. Since then, the Department of Public Service has requested that certain enhancements be added to the systems, including first-year maintenance and support, database management, pavement asset management and integration, advanced group pay function, and ramp management. This ordinance also requests to waive the relevant sections of Chapter 329 of the Columbus City Code pertaining to competitive bidding. To bid out at this time would considerably slow down this project. Emergency action is requested to ensure that a purchase order is established by the city auditor by the end of 2021, which is the deadline for that project. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
And finally, we have ordinance number 3023-2021 to authorize the city auditor to transfer and appropriate $100,000 within the general permanent improvement fund to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget, to authorize the director of the Department of Technology on behalf of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion to enter a contract with On Acute Consulting, Inc. To finalize phase 1 and 2 of development and implementation of the B2G Now certificate management project, to authorize expenditure of $100,000 from the above described purpose, and to waive competitive bidding provisions of Chapter 329 of the Columbus City Code, and to declare an emergency. The B2G Now application will replace the city's limited function biz track system and will include a compliance module and the ability to access utilization reports. The new system will allow the Office of Diversity and Inclusion to better manage and access the city's compliance data. Additionally, this ordinance authorizes the waiver of competitive bidding in accordance with the relevant provisions of Chapter 329 of the City Code. Given the extensive work already performed on Acute on this project, it is in the city's best interest to waive competitive bidding provisions. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That is all I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next committee to come before Council is the Public Service and Transportation Committee, chaired by Councilmember Favor. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Tonight in Public Service and Transportation, we have Ordinance 2933-2021 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate universal term contract purchase agreement for the purchase of parking meter payment systems from Park On Flowbird from the Division of Parking Services, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,223,000 from the parking meter fund and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the Director of Finance and Management, on behalf of the Director of Public Service, to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate universal term contract. The Department of Public Service Division of Parking Services is responsible for implementing and monitoring systems to accept payment for parking. The division will replace much of the current system's parking meters, which are nearing the end of their useful life, with an updated system and equipment. The remaining system and equipment will continue to be used until such time as it is no longer needed. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Thank you. That's all I have in my committees.
The next committee to come before Council is the Development Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Remy. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. The first four ordinances you see on the agenda this evening, I'm going to request that we table the ordinances indefinitely. Before I do so, I'd like to turn the table over to Director Stevens to provide additional details regarding this request. Director Stevens, the floor is yours.
Good evening, President Harden, Chair Remy, members of council. We are asking for this to be tabled because when we move incentives forward, we'd like to have the properties that we are moving those incentives forward appropriately zoned. Unfortunately, we got ahead of the zoning on this, so we'd like to hold off to make sure the zoning occurs before we move the incentive forward. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. So I will move forward with these ordinances. First ordinance is Ordinance 2948-2021 to authorize the Director of Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Pinchot & Company, LLC for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of approximately $16,077,439 and the creation of 35 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $1,092,000. I request to table this ordinance indefinitely.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Table.
Next, I have Ordinance 2949 to authorize the Director of Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Pinchot & Company, LLC for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of approximately $60,819,433 and the creation of 135 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $4,212,000. I request the table indefinitely.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Tabled.
Next is Ordinance 2950, 2021, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Pinchel & Company, LLC, for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of approximately $53,664,206 and the creation of 119 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $3,712,800. I request a table indefinitely.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Table.
And finally, I have Ordinance 2951, 2021, to authorize the Director of Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Pinchel & Company, LLC, for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of approximately $26,717,781 and the creation of 60 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $1,872,000. I request a table indefinitely.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Table.
So the next 8 ordinances are all related to one another. I'm going to go ahead and turn the table over to Director Stevens up front to let him talk about Buckeye XL LLC. Director Stevens, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden, Chair Ramey, members of council. Ordinances 2963-2021 through 2970-2021 are for the creation of 10-year 75% enterprise zones to address the redevelopment of the Norfolk Southern portion of the Buckeye Rail Yard. We are bringing these 8 ordinances together because we are asking developers of larger sites to detail the multiple projects that will be built over time. Why are we incentivizing this proactive industrial development? Because the COVID-19 pandemic has increased consumer reliance on online shopping and has also caused international manufacturing and shipping disruptions, which has led many manufacturers to increase domestic warehouse inventory and onshore manufacturing operations. As a result, demand for industrial space in well-located communities like Columbus has soared. Presently, Columbus has a pipeline of up to 12.2 million square feet of potential industrial expansions that could close over the next 6 months. To put that in context, from 2006 to 2020, the same demand averaged only 1.7 million square feet per year. By proactively abating properties in and around the hilltop, we are seeking to create at-the-ready industrial sites in close proximity to an opportunity neighborhood. In order to earn the 10-year incentives, tenants occupying the abated facilities will be required to fulfill job creation commitments and partner with the city to create workforce development programs that will prepare local residents for the newly created jobs. The median household income on the hilltop is $38,000 per year, compared to $47,000 citywide. The recent portfolio of industrial jobs we have attracted to Columbus had an average pay of $26.57 per hour. That's more than $55,000 a year. These ordinances represent the development of a total of approximately 5 million square feet. I would also like to note we are no longer using the minimum job creation number required by the Ohio Revised Code. Instead, we are using a formula based on the 5-year history of previous number of jobs created using incentives. We are asking developers to commit to 75% of the historical 5-year average per 200,000 square feet of development. By guiding this growth towards opportunity neighborhoods, we're not only capitalizing on unprecedented market demand, but also directing opportunity towards communities that stand to benefit the most. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Director Stevens. I will go ahead and move into Ordinance 2963, 2021, to authorize the Director of Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Buckeye XO LLC for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of $14,800,000 in real property improvements and the creation of 129 the creation of 29 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated new annual payroll of approximately $904,800. Buckeye XL LLC is an industrial real estate development investment group based in Los Angeles, California, and Dallas, Texas. The company provides real estate investment opportunities and industrial assets to institutional and private wealth investors through the acquisition, development, redevelopment, and management of institutional quality bulk logistics, infill, last mile, and light industrial properties located in top-tier markets in the U.S. Since inception, Buckeye XL LLC has acquired and developed, redeveloped, or repositioned industrial real estate projects totaling nearly 9 million square feet, including 15 million square feet currently in various stages of development. From infill industrial development in Los Angeles in the 80s to land development and vertical construction as part of the global supply chain, Buckeye XO LLC continues to build upon its legacy of creation. Buckeye XO LLC Building 1A is proposed to invest a total project cost of approximately $14,800,000 in real property improvements to construct a speculative industrial facility consisting of approximately 234,900 square feet at 4882 Trayview Road, Columbus, Ohio. The company anticipates the development of the proposed project will lead to the relocation of an unknown number of positions from within the city of Columbus or surrounding communities and the creation of 29 new net full-time positions with an estimated annual payroll of $904,800. The Department of Development recommends a 75% 10-year enterprise zone and tax abatement on real property improvements. The Hilliard City School District and Tolles Career and Technical Center have been advised of this project, and this legislation is presented as 30-day legislation. We do have one speaker on this particular piece of legislation this evening. That speaker is Mr. Joe Motil. Welcome back to council, Mr. Motil. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and any associated group you may be associated with.
My name is Joe Motil. I reside at 167 West Cook Road in Columbus. President Hardin, Chair Reedy, members of council. First, I would just want to say that I wasn't notified until 4:35 this afternoon about the tabling. I had a speech already prepared, and I appreciate the fact that you're going to allow me again to speak on 2 agenda items, which I think after 3 o'clock. So the speech that I was prepared to give for this, I frantically tried to put something together, eliminating certain things. But again, you can certainly tell that the Columbus City Council election's over and it's back to business as usual. It's been 9 months since a $55 million tax abatement was handed out to an unknown data center operator. And heaven forbid that such an outrageous one night of 9 unjustified tax abatements of about $55 million given out during the election season that could have given an opponent in the media something of concern to bring to light of the voters of Columbus. Well, I guess we can only hope that they will be enlightened by this historic moment this evening of continued thievery by the mayor and city council members of our property tax revenues. In terms of logistics centers, the CEO of Rickenbacker Warehouse stated, quote, "It's perfectly located and there's tremendous growth as a distribution center. The commitment is there and it's in a perfect place. Business First reported that Central Ohio's warehouse market was so hot last year, the only impediment developers saw as of January was a shortage of available land." Another warehouse firm executive said, "There is a tremendous demand for warehouse distribution centers here." It has also recently been reported that Columbus's warehouse vacancy rate hit an all-time low at 2.78%, and Rickenbacker's vacancy rate was 1.53%. Rickenbacker has set records recently for cargo coming in and setting records even during the height of COVID. And why? Location, location, location. As I have testified a million times before you, that Columbus is within a 10 hours drive of 47% of the U.S. population and 33% of Canada's. The highly respected economic research firm Colliers reported that in the Columbus area, developers cannot build fast enough to keep up with the demand of industrial construction. Officials also claim that the only impediment developers saw was a shortage of available land. The Columbus, Cincinnati, Louisville, I-71 corridor is even referred to as the heart of e-commerce. Doesn't this evidence send the message to any one of you that the developers of this risk-free logistics centers at Rickenbacker and elsewhere where the Buckeye XO is being located do not need a tax break? And one other item I'd just like to point out in terms of the Rickenbacker and the bus CODA bus service. I've testified about this issue on previous tax abatements for warehouses in that area, and that CODA does not provide services for most of the warehouse sites out there. And the City Council said it would address the issue. On October 24th, at a CODA public comment meeting on route adjustments, they announced that they were going to discontinue service to Rickenbacker from their line 24 route. So this is something that is very greatly concerned in terms of the warehouse activity taking place out there that is not, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't sound like it's been addressed. So that's Route 24 you need to look at. They want to discontinue that service that goes from Easton down Hamilton Road and stop it right there. That was part of what they are advising. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Motil. Director Stevens, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Thank you, Chair Remy. I just would want to highlight that this project's actually happening over on the west side of Columbus, just at the crossroads of where 270 and 70 meet. It's a little bit more of a challenging site because it is an old rail yard that needs to be redeveloped. The developer's doing that at their risk. We also are competing, while Mr. Motil's correct, we are seeing a really robust market for our industrial space. We need more of it. And as developers are looking to invest in more of that space, we are competing with greenland sites, or greenfield sites out at Etna, West Jefferson, Canal Winchester, Groveport, and others throughout the city. So it's really important that we proactively put in place these incentives to encourage this industrial development, especially on a site that's going to be a tremendous reuse of the rail yard. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director Stevens. Councilmember Favor.
Thank you, Director Stevens. As Chair of Housing, obviously I work very closely with you and your team, and have been very candid about the need to ensure that public transportation is accessible. And anytime we're engaging in an incentive with a developer, whether they're building a multi-unit or we're talking about a jobs incentive. So my ask would be that we are working with the developers and Department of Public Service and Transportation and CODA simultaneously to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to gain access to these 100 or so jobs that we're getting ready to discuss this evening.
Thank you, Chair Favor. I would highlight that one of the reasons we worked with this developer to do this incentive is the location is easily accessible to the hilltop and has ways to access it. We'll continue to work with CODA with regards to the issue of transportation down to Rickenbacker, but this one specifically really serves the community in need. And from the housing perspective, by bringing in jobs that are going to raise the average wage and salary of the residents in the hilltop, we're actually taking it so their income level rises to a point where the average rental rate or the cost of housing falls below 30% of their income. So we are helping, these jobs are going to help make those individuals more housing secure.
Are there any other comments or questions from my colleagues? Pardon? I don't know what they are. Yeah. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, I have Ordinance 2964, 2021, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Buckeye XO LLC for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of approximately $13 million in real property improvements and the creation of 25 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated new annual payroll of approximately $780,000. Buckeye XO LLC, Building 1B, is proposed to invest a total project cost of approximately $13 million in real property improvements to construct a speculative industrial facility consisting of approximately 202,500 square feet at 4883 Trayview Road in Columbus. We do have a speaker, or kind of an alternate situation, trading from the tabled legislation, and welcome back, Mr. Motel. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address.
Thank you. Joe Motel, 167 West Cook Road. President Hardin, Chair Remy, members of the City Council. Buckeye XO LLC is seeking 8 tax incentive handouts totaling $52.8 million in property tax abatements, which according to my figures will result in roughly a $20 million defunding of public educational dollars in Franklin County over a 10-year period. Buckeye is claiming that they will create 527 $15 an hour jobs that will result in $411,060 in annual city income tax revenue, or $4.11 million over 10 years. So that's a $52.8 million tax break for $4.11 million in city income tax revenue over 10 years. So once again, because of the city of Columbus is about 80% reliant on city income tax revenue to fill the coffers of its billion-dollar-plus budget, sacrificing millions in much-needed property tax revenues that pay for public education, children's services, public libraries, those with disabilities, Adam H., Metro Parks, and senior services are all apparently secondary to the social needs of Franklin County and Columbus's underserved citizens. Along with the defunding and disinvesting of educational opportunities of Columbus public school students, including the 61% of those students who are Black and multiracial. Whatever happened to the resolution that stated racism is a public health crisis? Is it on some empty bookshelf like other resolutions, along with your case studies claiming increasing the supply of market rate housing will help solve the affordable housing crisis? And you cannot continue spewing the crap about how tax incentives are an important tool for job creation and how Columbus is in competition with other municipalities, but nobody's buying it except for you. I find Director Stevens' comment in Columbus Business First related to tonight's tax abatements interesting. He says we're focusing on incentivizing areas in our community where we have higher unemployment or limited workforce participation because jobs aren't there. I wouldn't exactly claim that the Trayview Roberts Road is such an area, especially when Wagenbrenner's quarry project is just a couple miles away, where he's selling tax-abated condos and homes between $450,000 and $900,000. The average studio apartment in Columbus goes for about $820, and one-bedroom units for about $1,080. My figures come from averaging 3 different estimates. In order to afford a studio at $820, a single person would have to earn $39,600, and to rent a one-bedroom, he would have to have an annual income of $45,640. The county's current 60% AMI that is proposed as a 10% set-aside for the city's 2021 CRA policy recommendations shows an annual income of $35,200 for 60% AMI. A full-time worker in one of these warehouses makes $31,200 and cannot afford to even live in a studio apartment in Columbus. These tax abatements promote social injustice, structural racism by defunding and disinvesting into our public educational resources and social service needs for minorities and the underserved. Well-heeled developers need to pay their fair share of property tax like everyone else, especially in these risk-free logistics centers. They are the last ones on the planet that require a handout from the government. Over the last 73 months, City Council has given out no less than $491 million in tax abatements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Motel. Director Stevens, do you have any additional comments you'd like to make?
Thank you, Chair Remy. I'd like to point out that by using this incentive, we're actually going to be capturing 25% of the value from the start for the Hilliard City Schools as well as the other levy agencies. But for this incentive, we don't believe we will see this rail yard redevelop anytime in the near future, resulting in no lost revenue, but no gained revenue for the levy agencies nor the City of Columbus. The other point I'd like to highlight is when we looked at the areas where residents in the Hilltop are working, this was in like the top, 70% of the residents are working in close proximity to where they live, and this is in close proximity to the Hilltop. So we really are trying to drive these incentives towards neighborhoods that have a low participation rate in labor. So the labor force, Hilltop, 40% of the residents aren't even in the labor force, not participating. So by putting together programs to do some workforce training and bringing these jobs to the area, we really feel like we can increase the labor force participation, as well as provide opportunities that are in close proximity and easy to access through both transit and their own vehicles.
Thank you very much, Director Stevens. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Next, I have Ordinance 2965, 2021, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Buckeye XO LLC for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of approximately $29,900,000 in total proposed capital investment in property improvements and the creation of 62 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated new annual payroll of approximately $1,934,400. Buckeye XO LLC Building 1C is proposed to invest a total project cost of approximately $29,900,000 in real property improvements to construct a speculative industrial facility consisting of approximately 498,960 square feet at 4884 Treview Road in Columbus. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Next, I have Ordinance 2966, 2021, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Buckeye XO LLC for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of approximately $51,900,000 in real property improvements and the creation of 114 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated new annual payroll of approximately $3,556,800. Buckeye XO LLC Building 1D is proposed to invest a total project cost of approximately $51,900,000 in real property improvements to construct a speculative industrial facility consisting of approximately 910,140 square feet at 4885 Treview Road in Columbus. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Next, I have Ordinance 2967, 2021, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Buckeye XO LLC for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of approximately $53 million in real property improvements and the creation of 114 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated payroll of approximately $3,556,800. Buckeye XO LLC Building 2A is proposed to invest a total project cost of approximately $53 million in real property improvements to construct a speculative industrial facility consisting of approximately 913,000 square feet at 4886 Treview Road in Columbus. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Next is Ordinance 2968, 2021, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Buckeye XO LLC for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of approximately $46,600,000 in real property improvements and the creation of 97 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated new annual payroll of approximately $3,026,400. Buckeye XO LLC Building 2B is proposing to invest a total project cost of approximately $46,600,000 in real property improvements to construct a speculative industrial facility consisting of approximately 777,420 square feet at 4887 Treview Road, Columbus, Ohio. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Next, I have Ordinance 2969, 2021, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Buckeye XO LLC for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of approximately $25,700,000 in real property improvements and the creation of 53 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated new annual payroll of approximately $1,653,600. Buckeye XO LLC is proposing to invest a total project cost of approximately $25,700,000 in real property improvements to construct a speculative industrial facility consisting of approximately 421,120 square feet at 4888 Trayview Road, Columbus, Ohio. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Pass.
Next ordinance I have is 2970, 2021, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Buckeye XO LLC for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of approximately $17,100,000 in real property improvements and the creation of 33 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated new annual payroll of approximately $1,029,600. Buckeye XO LLC Building 2D is proposing to invest a total project cost of approximately $17,100,000 in real property improvements to construct a speculative industrial facility consisting of approximately 267,000 square feet, 360 square feet at 4889 Trayview Road, Columbus, Ohio. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Excuse me. Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Pass.
And let's move on from that exciting stuff. And next, introduce Ordinance 2985, 2021, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a contract with One Columbus in an amount up to $700,000 for economic development activities associated with business relocation, expansion, and retention, as well as other activities related to the City of Columbus's continued interest in workforce development, marketing, and entrepreneurship. To authorize the expenditure of $700,000 from the 2021 General Fund operating budget and to declare an emergency. One Columbus, the economic development organization for the 11-county Columbus region, has set forth a vision for the Columbus region to be the most prosperous region in the United States. Similar to the former Columbus 2020, One Columbus will continue to work in partnership with state and local partners, focus on helping existing businesses grow and compete, diversify the economy through the attraction of new businesses, and support newly formed high-growth enterprises. The One Columbus strategy includes critical imperatives. The imperatives are as follows: sustain our economic momentum by continuing to make economic growth and prosperity a top priority, develop, inspire, and attract a talented, adaptive, and diverse workforce to compete for investment, enable the innovation capacity of businesses, academic, and government sectors to grow dynamically and increase global identity and connectivity. One Columbus is also committed to achieving greater results than the goals achieved by Columbus 2020 in the last decade. Growth predictions include a 10 to 15% increase in jobs, payroll, and investment, while focusing on removing barriers to growth and prosperity. One Columbus will continue to work in partnership to generate opportunity and build capacity for economic growth. The services included in this contract cannot be provided by existing city employees because these services are beyond the city's current staffing capacity to provide. I would like to invite Kenny McDonald, the President and CEO of One Columbus, to share a few words. Kenny, the floor is yours. All right, we're having some technical difficulties, so I'm going to throw it over to Director Stevens and let you say some additional comments about this important partnership for the City of Columbus.
Thank you, President Harden, Chair Reamy, members of council. I talked earlier about the 12.2 million square feet of industrial warehouse space that we have in our pipeline. It's that pipeline that is filled by One Columbus and the partnership we have and their efforts to go out across the country and across the globe to attract those type of jobs and those type of opportunities. So not only on the manufacturing warehouse side, but our office and some of the entrepreneurial work they're doing as well. Hopefully Kenny's off the mute button and see if there's anything he has to add, but if not, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director Stevens. Kenny, you out there? He's trying to talk. Well, I'm going to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to turn it back to my colleagues and make sure that they don't have any questions or comments. Seeing that they don't, I'm going to now move for passage.
Clerk, call the roll, please.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Only me. Finally, this evening, I have Ordinance 3005-2021 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a enterprise zone agreement with Wilson Twin Creek Partners, LLC, for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of the company's proposed capital investment of $9,600,000 in real property improvements and the creation of 15 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $600,000. Wilson Twin Creeks Partners, LLC, is a partnership that is comprised of members of the 10B Partners who will serve as the sponsor entity that invests directly in and oversees the development of the project. 10B Partners, established in 2005, is one of the larger local real estate development firms in the Columbus region. Over the past decade, 10B Partners has successfully completed over 500 major projects nationwide. The project represents a massive private investment in an area of the city lacking Class A flex office space. Office flex buildings are often desired by companies doing research and development in the technology and biotechnology industries. This development is specifically designed to meet needs of smaller businesses with a higher-end office, R&D, lab, and showroom tenancy. Wilson Twin Creek Partners, LLC, proposes to invest a total project cost of approximately $9,600,000 in real property improvements to construct two separate 41,400 square foot proactive Class A flex office buildings for a total of 82,800 square feet at 1330 North Wilson Road and 3590 Twin Creeks Drive in Columbus, Ohio. The company anticipates that the development of the proposed project will lead to the relocation of an unknown number of positions from within the city of Columbus or surrounding communities and the creation of 15 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $600,000. The Department of Development recommends a 75% 10-year enterprise zone tax abatement on real property improvements. The Hilliard City School District and Tolles Career and Technical Center has been advised of the project. Do you have any comments on this one, Director Stevens?
I'd be happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I will now ask my colleagues if they have anything they'd like to ask. No, seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed. And finally, that's all I have in my committees this evening. Happy Thanksgiving to all.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our final committee to come before council is the Rules and Reference Committee. I chair the committee. We have one piece of legislation left. At our last committee, I apologize, our final ordinance this evening is 3006-2021 to find not legally sufficient a petition for a proposed ordinance entitled to authorize and direct the city auditor to establish an energy conservation and energy efficiency fund and a clean energy education and training fund, and to take the necessary actions to transfer $10 million from the general fund to the city of Columbus to each of these funds for a total of $20 million for the appropriate purposes, and to authorize to direct the city auditor to take the necessary actions to transfer $30 million from the general fund of the city of Columbus for the purpose of funding a minority business development program to establish a Columbus Clean Energy. On October 19, 2021, petitioners 280 part petitions containing 6,500 signatures for a proposed ordinance. The petitioner's ordinance was almost identical to the proposal that the voters overwhelmingly rejected this past November. More than 85% of our voters thought that this was a bad idea. The change these petitioners made, they said, that they would take even more taxpayer dollars out of the public view for unknown purposes. On November 5th, 2021, the Franklin County Board of Elections certified its examination of part petitions as required by city charter. The Board of Elections found that the total number of valid signatures failed to achieve the standard as defined in Section 45 of the charter. So by voting for the legislation on tonight's agenda, we are following our city's constitution. We are finding that the petitioners did not gain enough signatures to get on the ballot again. Next year, the city has a regularly scheduled charter review commission. It is paramount that those commissioners look at our city's constitution to ensure that this kind of self-dealing is no longer an option in our community. Are there any questions or comments from our colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Ordinance is passed. Before I adjourn this evening's meeting, I would like to recognize my colleague Mitch Brown and Miss Becky Brown for their 33 years of marriage. It's their wedding day. We'll blame Remy and his committee for not getting you home earlier to your to your lovely bride. No, but also, again, happy Thanksgiving. When we come back on December 6th, we will start our recognition and celebration of our council members that are retiring at the end of the year, starting with Councilmember Mitch Brown on December 6th, and then Councilmember Priscilla Tyson on December 13th. So we encourage and invite friends and family to come and participate. With that, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Adjourn.